Do that after a quick word from FanDuel. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Since taking over as general manager, Andrew Berry has been aggressive in pursuing talent, whether it's via the draft, whether it's via trade, whether it's via free agency. He has been aggressive in trying to acquire the best talent possible. Throughout the draft, he's looked at players that other teams have had character concerns and issues about and made the decision that his talent outweighs the concerns. A couple examples, Michael Hall in this situation, Perrion Winfrey last year, or 2 years ago, and then he was cut last year after a different off-field incident via trades and free agency. They brought in Malik McDowell, who had his run-ins with the police. They brought in Kareem Hunt, who had issues previously.
That was not Andrew Berry, though.
Good point, the Browns, but was a model citizen in Cleveland. Berry was instrumental.
Well, he wasn't model. He did get pulled over once. I mean, but
people get pulled over, though.
Yeah, he was, for all intents and purposes.
He was busted for smoking pot while driving. I mean, that was not good.
I'm just saying, but people get pulled over.
Well, people get pulled over for speeding or something.
He was probably pulled over for speeding.
But it wasn't like he did nothing. He wasn't a model citizen.
Model
That's not
citizen
fair.
may not be the perfect world, but he certainly cleaned up his image in his Cleveland tenure.
It improved his image, definitely, yes.
Do you think that moving forward, after what happened earlier this week, Andrew Berry and this front office has to maybe reevaluate the way they take into consideration and weigh character concerns and red flags in the draft process or in the player acquisition process to avoid these situations? I know when it happens, it's not Andrew Berry's fault. It's not like he could see the future and knew this was coming, but they've had a couple incidents now and a couple players they've drafted that were not on other teams' draft boards that have become distractions and then led to the eventual dismissal from the team. So do you think they have to reevaluate how they kind of look at and characterize these players coming out of college or coming into Cleveland via free agency in the light of what's happened the last few days?
I don't think so, guys.
No.
And the reason is it's not like we're talking about, 20 players or something. This is not Urban Meyer at Florida. I mean, it's a few guys. First of all, the Deshaun Watson situation, obviously we've talked that to death, but we already knew the deal once the Browns traded for him. And obviously there were other teams, every team that needed a quarterback wanted him at that time. In terms of the Perrion Winfrey one, that's a late draft pick. So that's who cares? It didn't work out. Our fourth round, all right, not that late, but it's late enough where it's like, okay, the guy's got talent. If we blow a fourth round pick, who cares? Now listen, if they end up cutting Mike Hall, that's a pretty big blunder here to draft a guy in the second round, and he had some questionable character concerns. But how are you going to know you didn't know? There was nothing like this in his past, as far as I know. Mike, is that fair?
Yeah, no, he had the issues that were coming out of Ohio State that were associated with him.
Yeah.
Seemed to be more maturity issues, but there was nothing on his record that ever indicated this level of
Exactly.
behavior.
So how am I going to blame Andrew Berry for this in this particular case? I think if he had a long history, I just think most of those other cases are either later picks. I mean, who's the one guy you mentioned, the defensive lineman?
Malik McDowell.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? He was an afterthought.
And I'm not saying you should change it. I'm just asking the question.
I don't think so. I think you always have to take into account what you know of a player's character, and it's got to factor into a decision of whether you bring him in. But I wouldn't totally rule guys out because of character concerns.
37. That's the number of players that Andrew Berry has drafted since he's been a general manager of the Cleveland Browns. And when I heard this question, the first thing I said was, no, he doesn't need to reevaluate anything. So I'm in step with you all. Of the 37 players he's drafted, there's a few that kind of stick out like a sore thumb. And so we putting a spotlight on them because they've been in some trouble and had some issues. And because of that, I always compare that to plane crashes, right? Like planes take off, land safely every damn day. But as soon as a plane crashes, that's the plane that we talk about. We talk about the few planes that's on this team that's crashed, so to speak. But overall, like, I think he's done a great job because for every situation there is, like Mike Hall, there's a situation like Jock, who just got an extension today. And so overall, I think he's done a great job. But furthermore, when you bring in people, when they say like things like questionable character issues, I think that all of our employer take a risk hiring all of us, no matter what our profession is, because to a degree, we all got some questionable character issues.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I got a temper and tend to have a bad attitude. That's a character flaw, right? And so like the Browns have talked about how they've structured and built a organization to help these guys develop as men and football players. And if they have a guy that they're considering drafting that they might say got some character flaws or some maturity issues, they believe that they have the infrastructure in place to help that person not just develop as a football player, but as a man. And sometimes it don't always work out for you.
Some people can't be helped.
I showed Ant something earlier today, like, you know, and G got a chance to witness this firsthand when we spoke at the Juvenile Detention Center. I won't say it on air, but he was even shocked at some of the stuff I shared about my own past and about some of the things that I've overcame. Like, I went through a program. From that program, I did something very unique. I became the first person ever hired by the city of Cleveland courts. There were people that came through that same program after me, got the same opportunities, and they didn't last and it didn't work. So sometimes you just got to take calculated chances and risks. Sometimes it work out for you, sometimes it don't.
Yeah, listen, I agree. You know, I'm a big history major, right? And we talk about football. A lot of people don't understand that there's been over 14 congressmen who have been expelled after being elected, duly elected by the people of their constituents, right? We just had one, and that was expelled in New York in 2023. Now, these are the pillars of what we are supposed to be about as Americans, right? We got people that's taking bribes. We got people lying. We got people doing all kind of stuff, right? So if I can expect that even at the highest levels of business, of government, not this news broke. There was a successful businessman that got arrested that owns a lot of restaurants here in Cleveland that was also arrested for a lot of stuff. Now, I'm not confused about what this world is. There's a lot of things that go on that's bad. There's a lot of things that go on that could be less unsavory, shall we put it. But Andrew Berry's job is to put good football players on the field. Every time that you draft somebody, you take a crapshoot, right? You roll in the dice to see if this guy can either be good, whether this guy can make it under the pressure, whether he can make plays, and if he can stay out of trouble. But we also have to take into considerations of this. When you become a millionaire, right? When you get a lot of money, go watch the number of people that win the lottery, and then they say, my life just went to hell. My family just started looking at me. I got people that I knew for years that are preying on me. When you start getting people that they know you got the bag and they know you got the money, let's be clear. People, you are now targets, whether you are willingly complicit with it or understand it, right? So they're already in a high-risk group of people to start with. So who's more likely? Who's more likely, me to get convicted of something, or randomly somebody said that I did something to him and sue him, or somebody else that got exponentially more money than me that's more famous and popular? Mm-hmm. Obviously, those guys will be it. So when you're looking at Andrew Berry, you're looking at this whole game, I think his job, and he separates the two. He separates, would I take this dude and bring him to my house and have him meet my family? No. But then again, we work with a lot of people that you still wouldn't do that same thing with, right?
But yeah, I think that's all true. I do think you have to. I get what you're saying that maybe there's a lot of guys with character concerns to some degree. They're all getting money, but in Mike Hall's case, in Perrion Winfrey's case, there were some more red flags than the average player.
Well, if you say maturity issues, that's why I like to say this is my thing.
Yeah,
I'm very big. If you've ever heard me say the word. I don't like buzzwords.
Right.
When you say, what did he do? don't say maturity. You tell me exactly A, B, and C, because then I can't hide nothing else under maturity. What does maturity mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
You 21? What, you were late
I was
to
just
work?
about to say, who the hell is mature at 2021 anyway?
Like, what does that mean?
Whatever it was, there were teams that didn't want to draft Mike Hall.
Right.
Okay, so obviously he had more concerns than the average player. Fair?
I think it was more concerns of him coming out too early and not being ready enough.
I don't really know what the
player.
reason was. Was there?
Dane Brugler. Here, let me pull up the exact tweet. Hold on, give me 1 sec.
Yeah. I'm just saying, and I don't say that to blame Andrew Berry. I agree with you guys. But you can't not take it into account, and he did. I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
he weighed it.
Always
he
a part
weighed
of
how
it.
big a risk, and he thought that the upside of Mike Hall was worth the risk, that he's more likely than the average player to get into some sort of trouble. For now, it looks like it didn't work. We'll see.
Like I always say, hindsight is 20/20. It's easy to go back be after the facts.
Right.
After it happened.
None of us were complaining about it before.
Yeah, it's easy to be like, oh, there was maturity issues. You're like, well, hold on.
I just don't want to say. I just don't think we should say. Well, you shouldn't consider that at all, because he does, and everybody should and does. But it's how much does it weigh on the scale?
Here's what I can say. Even if somebody does something that's crazy, right? It's okay for you to be like, well, we didn't see that. It's okay to be like, I didn't see that. The person that I saw right there, we didn't see that. We didn't have a track record of that. Sometimes it's like we want to make ourselves feel better about like what happened. It's on both sides. It's a bad story. But as humans, we want to like lessen the blow by saying that there was all these red flags that we just blew through them. And that don't necessarily have to be a case. It could be a case where anybody in this room, if it can be triggered into doing anything. You don't know what it could be. Anybody could just be like, oh.
There were no red flags. I mean,
right. You just said that to me?
To be fair, there were no red flags for Deshaun Watson before whatever happened.
None.
He had a great reputation. Go ahead.
I found the little write-up from Brugler, and it was in his last mock draft. He essentially said, one scout for a team I spoke to said, Mike Hall Jr., they view him as a top 30 player, but due to some character issues and maturity concerns, they wouldn't take him before 70, and other teams they've spoken to said he's not on their draft board whatsoever.
Yeah, but G's right. It's like, what does that mean?
We don't know what that means.
Right. We don't know what that means.
Idea.
So there was something there that multiple teams saw. Andrew Berry didn't go into the draft ignoring whatever it was.
Yeah,
he factored it in, and he decided in the end that the talent was worth the risk. And right now it looks like it's not going to work out. And you got to give him some level of criticism for that. But in the end, the big picture, I agree. Andrew Berry overall has done a pretty good job, and I'm not gonna say he needs to change the way he does his process because of this.
I have a hard time giving him some criticism for it because I understand the process and I respect it. You know, Andrew Berry, as both of you just alluded to, he does separate the two. They are men, human beings, but they're also football players, and you're giving somebody an opportunity. So I don't think he should take criticism for giving somebody an opportunity, because it's not like any of us have a time machine that can push us forward to let us know how somebody is going to behave, right? Once we give them an opportunity. Like I said, all of our employers take chances and risk on us as individuals. They don't know how it's going to turn out until they take that chance. Did it work out or it didn't? So I can't sit up here and knock him for giving people an opportunity to earn a living and grow as people and as players.
Yeah, but in the end, when you're a GM of a football team, if you blow a draft pick, you get criticism for that. Whether you blow it because the guy just wasn't good or because the guy got in trouble, you get criticized when you blow a draft pick.
You own your record.
That's it. So that's what he gets criticism for.
To me, Andrew Berry got a worse track record drafting wide receivers than he do with people with flawed character issues.
But
if I'm being honest.
In this case, when I say he deserves some criticism, if they end up cutting Mike Hall because of this, well then, yeah, it was a wasted second-round pick.
But see, here's the thing. At the top of the ticket,
dude,
whether you like it or not, I'm just giving you. I hold the mirror up to you. You decide what you see. He's at practice. It don't look like that's going to be a wasted draft pick.
True. I mean, right now.
I mean,
he may get suspended.
Like
we don't know what's going to happen.
He may get suspended, but that's the way. Like the owner dealing with that. Like he's a second-round pick, right? Mm-hmm. That goes to the top of the ticket. That goes to the top of the food chain.
Jimmy call.
That's a Jimmy call.
If he gets suspended, let's say it's a big suspension for the year, it's at least a wasted pick for this year.
Yes, it is a wasted pick for this year, right?
Yeah. If he was a 6th-round pick, he gets cut.
He's out of here.
Oh,
he's gone. Yeah,
100%.
He's out of here.
100%.
Yeah.
But here,
I said I don't think they should cut him right now until the whole thing plays itself out. I don't know that they'll cut him. Period.
Now, if he get arrested and go to jail,
yeah, that's it.
He's not getting arrested and going to jail for this.
Well, listen, I'm just saying, for me, I'm not saying, is he probably going to go to jail or should he go to jail? I'm just saying that's the way the world works.
Yeah.
If hey.
But, like, I've seen the tweets, like you mentioned Lima's tweet, like I've seen the tweets and all the stuff like that's on social media right now. And I kind of laugh at it because to me, they're trying to, like, this is bad, but the way they're trying to paint it, you could tell who got certain backgrounds and who don't. Like, everything that's going on is standard procedure when you catch a misdemeanor domestic violence charge in the state of Ohio.
Why is it a misdemeanor?
Anytime that you don't have a criminal record, and this is the case, you know, it's a misdemeanor the first time out.
That's crazy to me.
That's the Ohio Revised Code. That's
I hear you. There's nothing funny. So this is serious business.
It's serious business.
You're threatening your fiance in front of the kid.
I guess the point I was trying to make
with a gun is pretty disturbing.
Because like yesterday when Tyvis brought it up, you know, I said that, you know, if everything that's in that police report is true and all of this is true, then the Browns probably should cut him. But like I woke up this morning and I kind of walked that back a little bit because, one, I don't know Mike Hall. And, like, if the Browns are about what they say they are about, then cutting him and releasing him and just putting him back out here to the world might be a detriment to him more so than what's going on now. Because people still have to understand, like, this is still everyday real life. He still got a kid with this woman. He still got to deal with this woman day in and day out. And he still got to, like, you know, just be a father and be a man and be a son, etc. And so, like, what I'm saying is, if the Browns have preached everything that they've preached, I just wish, I don't know if there's a way that you can, maybe take football away from them, but don't take them away from the team. Because if this organization has grown into everything that we believe it has, then Michael Jr. might need them if he don't feel like he has anybody else.
It's not a charity, and they owe him nothing. Why did they owe him something? If he did what's done, he's owed no sympathy. He's owed no help.
No, everybody's owed help. And see,
that's your opinion.
That's my opinion. And my opinion is different because, again, when, like, to me,
Earl,
none of
there's no
us is
excuse.
perfect.
If he did what he did, there's no
Right,
excuse.
and I'm
no
saying,
excuse.
like, boy, I don't sit up here and speak in absolutes, and that's why I say this is uncomfortable because I never try to come off like as a hypocrite or like I've never done shit. And a lot of people speak on these situations like they've never done shit, and that's what triggers me. Like when people speak in absolutes, like a man or a woman is not allowed to earn an income, not allowed to work, shouldn't be given a second chance, don't deserve no help, like don't deserve no like type of whatever because of what they've done or whatever the case may be. Like I get it, you different, I'm different. I wasn't raised like that. That's all I'm saying.
Go ahead.
What I'll say is, if and I keep saying if true, I believe that they should cut him, and the reason is sometimes it takes accountability and it takes consequences for you to understand. Not saying that he don't need a second chance, because somebody in the league will probably give him another chance, and it's up to him to do with that second chance. He's going to make the best of it. However, I do believe in accountability, and I do believe in having to have consequences for certain behavior. For me, sometimes a lot of people will say, and I go to prisons and different things. Some people tell you, going to prison saved my life because it slowed me down. Yet, did I want to go to prison? No, but me being in here got me to get the help I needed. It got me to think, and it got me to be out of that vicious cycle. So sometimes it takes bad things to happen to you, those consequential things, to say, the wages of my actions is X, and there ain't no way you can skate around that. When you're dealing with guns and when you're dealing with things like that of that nature, people's lives can be changed irreparably. You know, guns can go off, accidents happen, And when you got that around children or minors, you got to also understand the way that it's perceived and the way that's seen, right? Because we want to stop the cycle. We want to stop kids from growing up without parents. In that case, there could have been people without parents.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So I want him to understand that, and not saying that he did it. I'm just only going on if. If that didn't happen, and it's certain parts of the story that's fabricated or didn't go down the way it is, by all means, he has an opportunity to play football and to earn a living. He still has an opportunity to go forward and to make amends for anything he did in the past. However, I don't want to come off as saying that there's no consequential levels to it, because at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson faced consequences. He's still facing those consequences. You know, he's still now, and one of those consequences is your reputation being that.
And I'm not trying to come off like he shouldn't face any consequences, because guess what? He woke up facing consequences today.
Yeah.
He got a protection order to where he can't even see his child that I'm 100% sure that he loves.
You are?
Yeah, I am.
If you love your child, you threaten the mom.
I'm
I don't know about
100%
that.
sure that you love your child.
You can love people. And
I'm
do
100% sure that he loves his child.
You can love your kid and do stupid.
There's no way you could be 100% sure.
Okay, right. I'm gonna say the man loves his child.
Okay.
So my point is, if you woke up this morning and you can't even look at your child that you may or may not love or care about, that's a consequence of your actions right then and there, right? Mm-hmm. So consequences is not going to just come from if or if not he can play football. Like, this man finna deal with some real life consequences that's much bigger.
Which he brought all on himself.
And so when you say like he doesn't deserve any help, maybe to your point, he probably don't deserve no help from the Browns. That's your opinion. But all I'm saying is, I think he does deserve some help. He definitely needs some help, because he's going to be a father and he's going to have to deal with this child and this woman much longer than whatever NFL career he has or would have had anyway.
Well, a couple things to that. First of all, he may not have anything to do with the child if the courts stop him.
That's a temporary hold as the process goes through. That's how it's standard.
Right, but if he exhibits this kind of behavior again, it could become more long term. There are parents that lose rights sometimes, are there not?
Yeah, but that's
I know it has to be pretty extreme.
It's a slippery slope.
But this is a pretty extreme example. I mean, to me, if I were the judge in charge, I would not let him anywhere near his child or this woman, if this is all true. He threatened her with a gun. He may have ruined that kid's life forever, because that kid had to see his dad, or I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. The kid.
And that's a consequence to his actions. So when people, that's why I'm saying
that's a consequence for the kid. The kid's life may be ruined already.
It's a consequence all the way around the board.
But
nobody
he
wins
was
in
the
this
one who
situation.
caused it. Nothing happened to him.
Nobody is disagreeing with that fact. But what I'm saying is, when you're talking about consequences, you're just narrowing it down to should he or should he not play football. What I'm telling you is, from the moment that those actions took place, this man been suffering consequences
I just don't believe that I don't think suffering is a fair word, because he brought it on himself.
Just because you bring something on yourself don't mean you don't suffer consequences. But here's the thing, Earl.
I believe in second chances. But I don't believe, see, what drives me crazy about second chances is I don't think you deserve a second chance. I think you earn a second chance. And to me, that's not everybody. If you show no remorse, obviously it's too early to get to that point yet. But if when you do something like, let's talk about Michael Vick, right? Michael Vick, from the time he was in jail or the time he got out of jail, did nothing but show remorse, correct? He contributed to animal shelters. He did this. He spoke about how big a mistake he made. Of course, Michael Vick, he earned another chance. But if you show no apology and no remorse whatsoever, I don't believe you should be given a second chance. I think you should earn a second chance. That's how I feel about it.
I feel like my moral compass, and you say a prayer before you play games. You say, forgive those who trespass against us. And that's what my moral compass is, because I understand that I'm a very flawed individual. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of times the only reason that I'm sitting here is by grace. Yep. Because I could have been caught. I could have been in jail. I could have been doing this. I could have been drinking and partying. It's, here our lives can change. Our lives can change on a dot, just like this. And when your life changes like that, because we are human and we are all flawed, It's very difficult. I saw something the other day that was very difficult for me to watch, and it was a person who had forgiven someone who had killed one of their loved ones, and the loved ones happened to be a child. And the person, usually when that happens, they get an opportunity to speak to the person. And everybody that came up and spoke to the person was angry and mad. And then it got to the mom. And then the mom came up and spoke to him and said, you know what, I forgive you, and you could turn your life around. Don't let the memory of my child die in vain, because you still have a life and you still have something to give to somebody. And I was sitting there and I was shook, because I don't know what kind of strength that took as a mother to lose a child to forgive somebody. And the person who was convicted of life, he was broke down, he was crying, and he just was telling her to thanking her for saying that. And I said, if that woman could do that, there's some things in our lives that we all gotta let go. There's some grudges that you done been mad at people before. You done been upset and still holding on to stuff. If that woman can do that and change the way that somebody killed her child, then I believe that as tough as it is and as hard as it is to hear the allegations, there must be consequences, but at the same time, I don't believe in throwing humans away.
But was he remorseful?
Yeah, he was remorseful. He was crying.
That's all I'm saying.
But
there's got to be some level of remorse.
Sometimes, yeah, the contrition part is there.
Yeah.
But that contrition is not a prerequisite for me forgiving you.
Boom.
Okay, that's fine. That's how you feel. I disagree.
Because when you hold on to it, the only thing that hold on, it kills you.
Forgiveness is for yourself.
That's
not
for
the
you.
other person.
Well, I mean, that's if something happened to you personally.
That's because when you're holding on to that person don't feel that. You torn up inside and mad and upset.
I'm just saying, to bring it back to a football perspective, if Mike Hall, I'm more likely as a fan, or if I own the Browns, whatever, to want to give Mike Hall a second chance if he shows remorse for what he did than if he doesn't.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
And plus, here's the thing. It's very fresh. This is why talking about this, this is why this platform is cool, because we're talking about it and we don't have all the stuff.
Let me just ask this question. Because I think like remorse and like being truly like sorry for what you did matters. But like, as long as he's remorseful to the people he needs to be, like he doesn't have to be publicly remorseful. As long as behind closed doors, he's getting the help that he needs for himself, and he's being remorseful to his fiance, to her mother, to the children that's involved.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that matters. I think a lot of people are going to sit here and expect him to publicly be remorseful and publicly say this, that, and the third. Like, no, at the end of the day, in order for you to change, and I'm speaking from my own self, because I done had about 10 chances in my life, and I'm only 36. You got to get to a point to where you want to change, to where you want to be different.
That's right.
And you got to seek out the help necessary to like start applying it. But that help is just tools that's in your toolbox. You got to learn how to have wisdom and discernment to learn how to dig into your toolbox and use what's there. And so like that's very important too. Yeah. But when we talk about remorseful, yeah, but for the people who wants him to be like out front and center with it, no, that ain't where it's at. Like you need to do what you need to do with your family behind closed doors and get that together.
Ultimately, I agree with you. That is all that matters. I think it would benefit him publicly down the line.
Because that's perception. The hell with perception.
I hear you. I agree. We don't know that he's going to be remorseful at all. I mean, we don't know that he isn't.
We don't know. We don't even know if he did it.
We don't know what happened. All right, let's leave it there. Let's get to some baseball, Mike.
Yeah, if he's in uniform for the game this weekend, he'll be asked about it afterwards, and that'll be the first chance to hear from Mike Hall, and we'll find out if he is or isn't going to be in uniform later in the week. Let's pivot, talk a little